behind the billions. If you were a hardcore personal computer gamer 20 or 25 years ago, building your own rigs in your bedroom, you already know the absolute truth. Back then, Nvidia was not the undisputed king of the technology world. In the early 2000s, if you had the money and you really wanted premium performance, rich colors, and the absolute best three-dimensional graphics, you bought an ATI Radeon card. For a very long time, Nvidia was often seen as the cheaper, budget-friendly alternative. They were just a scrappy, aggressive hardware company, making affordable graphics chips so teenagers could play video games without emptying their parents' wallets. But today, that exact same underdog company is dictating the future of human civilization. They are the undeniable rulers of the artificial intelligence revolution, currently battling tech titans like Apple and Microsoft to become the single most valuable company on the entire planet. How does a budget gaming hardware company pull off the greatest, most impossible pivot in the history of modern capitalism? The answer lies in the terrifying, obsessive, and completely dogmatic vision of just one man in a black leather jacket, Jensen Huang. To understand the sheer madness of Jensen Huang's leadership, you have to look at how modern corporate executives are trained to behave. In the modern business world, chief executive officers are heavily programmed to listen to the market. They are taught to give the consumers exactly what they want right now and to make the wall. Street shareholders happy at the end of every single financial quarter. But Jensen Huang did the exact opposite of what business schools teach. He looked at his highly successful video game hardware company and decided, with zero evidence, that he was going to force the entire world to compute differently, even if absolutely nobody asked for it. The pivotal moment, the incredibly dogmatic decision that ultimately changed human history, happened in 2006. Jensen introduced a radical new software platform called CUDA. This platform was designed to allow software developers to use Nvidia graphics cards, not just for rendering video game pixels and explosions, but for general-purpose computing and highly complex mathematical calculations. There was just one massive, glaring problem with this vision. Absolutely nobody, outside of a few academic nerds in university basement laboratories, cared about it. Hardcore gamers definitely did not care about complex mathematics. They just wanted faster frame rates in their shooting games. Wall Street and financial analysts absolutely hated this idea. Developing this new CUDA software ecosystem was costing Nvidia hundreds of millions of dollars in research and development. Worse than that, Jensen stubbornly insisted that this new, highly expensive computing architecture must be physically built into every single chip. Nvidia manufactured from the cheapest $50 budget cards to the highest-end flagship models. This dogmatic decision artificially drove up manufacturing costs and absolutely crushed their profit margins. Investors screamed at him. Major financial analysts publicly demanded he drop this pointless, expensive science project and just focus on making cheaper chips to beat Radeon in the gaming market. Nvidia's stock price stagnated for years. Shareholders were furious. Under any normal corporate circumstances, a board of directors would have immediately fired a chief executive for this kind of stubborn, unprofitable obsession. But Jensen Huang ruled Nvidia with an iron grip. He firmly refused to compromise or apologize. He believed, with an almost religious fanaticism, that one day the world would desperately need massive parallel processing power. To understand why this matters, you have to understand the difference between a traditional CPU and an Nvidia GPU. Think of an Intel CPU like a brilliant university professor. The professor can solve incredibly complex math problems, but can only solve them one at a time. An Nvidia GPU, on the other hand, is like 10,000 elementary school students. Individually, they are not very smart. But if you give them 10,000 simple math problems to solve, all at the exact same time, They will finish the job infinitely faster than the professor. Jensen believed the future of computing was not about doing one thing perfectly, but doing millions of things simultaneously. He was essentially subsidizing the future of global supercomputing, using the allowance money teenagers were paying for video game graphics. He built a multi-billion-dollar bridge to nowhere and stood there, stubbornly waiting for the rest of the world to finally catch up to his vision. And then, after nearly a decade of brutal waiting, enduring mockery and stagnant stock charts, the world actually caught up. In 2012, a group of academic researchers used a few standard Nvidia gaming graphics cards to train a breakthrough neural network called AlexNet. They made a shocking discovery. They realized that the parallel processing architecture Jensen had been stubbornly forcing into his gaming chips for years was the absolute perfect, undisputed engine for artificial intelligence. Suddenly, that multi-billion-dollar bridge to nowhere became the only highway to the future of technology. Because Jensen had aggressively forced CUDA onto every single chip for almost 10 years, millions of desktop computers around the world were already secretly equipped to handle artificial intelligence development. He had accidentally, or perhaps entirely intentionally, built the world's largest supercomputer network, hiding in plain sight, inside the bedrooms of PC gamers. But even then, the road was not easy. Before the current AI boom, Nvidia faced another massive crisis driven by the cryptocurrency craze. Crypto miners realized that GPUs were perfect for mining Bitcoin and Ethereum. They bought every Nvidia card they could find, causing a massive artificial spike in revenue. Wall Street cheered, but Jensen knew this was a dangerous bubble. When the crypto market inevitably crashed in 2018, Nvidia's stock plummeted by over 50% in a matter of months. Critics once again called for his resignation. They said Nvidia was just a volatile hardware vendor, riding a stupid crypto wave. But Jensen did not flinch. He ignored the crypto noise, ignored the crashing stock price, and continued pouring billions of dollars into refining his AI computing platform. His dogmatism was unshakable. When the true artificial intelligence explosion finally hit, with the launch of ChatGPT and massive large language models, tech giants like Google, Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft panicked. They realized they were in an existential arms race. They needed immense, unbelievable computing power to train their new AI models. And they needed it immediately. They all looked around the global market and realized Nvidia was the only company in the world selling the shovels for the AI gold rush. But here's the truly terrifying part of Jensen Huang's dogmatic strategy. Competitors like AMD and Intel could not just reverse engineer and copy the physical chips. Because Jensen had a 10-year head start on building the CUDA software ecosystem, every AI researcher in the world had already written their codes specifically for Nvidia hardware. You cannot just buy a cheaper AMD chip and easily run an AI model built on Nvidia's platform. It is a completely locked-in, inescapable software ecosystem. It is exactly like the Apple ecosystem, but applied to multi-billion-dollar data centers. Jensen Huang had built an unbreakable global monopoly. Today, the richest technology billionaires in the world have to personally beg Jensen Huang for a shipment of his H100 and B200 chips. These pieces of silicon sell for tens of thousands of dollars apiece, generating profit margins that would make a luxury fashion brand completely jealous. Mark Zuckerberg publicly posts about stockpiling hundreds of thousands of Nvidia GPUs just to keep his company relevant. The story of Nvidia is the ultimate, undeniable counter-argument to modern corporate management theories. It is a powerful story that proves sometimes the market is entirely, hopelessly wrong. Sometimes a leader should not listen to the customers, and they definitely should not listen to the short-term greed of shareholders. Jensen Huang's dogmatism was not born from blind arrogance, but from a terrifyingly accurate 30-year prophecy. He endured years of mockery, tanking stock prices, massive crypto crashes, and brutal competition from Radeon, All because he saw a future absolutely nobody else could see. He gambled his entire company on a singular vision, ignored all the rules of business, and in the end, he won the entire world.
Tap to subscribe. Watch more untold stories next.